Netflix is currently the largest paid subscription streaming company by market cap in the world, and its downfall is becoming rapidly more evident with each passing month. Now, the numbers tell a different story. Revenue and earnings have been ramping up consistently over the past few years, and the company had a record-breaking 2018. But Netflix's success has drawn the attention of many big-time media producers. Unfortunately for Netflix, the company doesn't have protection around its business model to keep the opposition out. Almost the opposite, actually. Netflix is heavily reliant on the licensing of other companies' media in order to attract subscribers to their platform. But with large media conglomerates looking to cut their own piece out of the online industry, Netflix's licenses on popular media are starting to expire, and the corporations who own the licensing rights are instead looking to create their own streaming services. As a result, Netflix's content library has begun to dwindle away, leaving it with less to offer to its subscribers, who may decide to cancel their membership and go to the opposition instead. This is a very real problem that Netflix is just now beginning to experience. The first corporate Goliath to test the waters is Disney, who is set to launch their own competitive streaming service, Disney Plus, at the end of this year. To help visualize how impactful the loss of Disney's licenses will be, the scrolling titles on screen represent some of the more popular content that Netflix will likely be losing access to. And while those continue to roll, here's a statistic that will probably blow your mind. As of the 2017 acquisition of 21st Century Fox, Disney is now reported to own over 27% of the film industry. As if things weren't looking bad enough for Netflix, Disney plans to undercut Netflix's subscription fees by around $2 per month. And on top of that, Netflix original series under the Marvel banner like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Daredevil were all ended sooner than expected due to these licensing expirations. This somewhat abrupt end to multiple series marketed as Netflix original content raises the question, what even is a Netflix original series? Well, it turns out that the term Netflix original doesn't mean that the show or series was created by Netflix, nor does it mean that the media is owned by Netflix. Netflix original just means that those series are currently licensed to be exclusive to the Netflix streaming platform. Now, to be fair, Netflix does own and create some of their original content, but you might be surprised to find out that the majority of Netflix original content is licensed from other companies. In fact, shows like Black Mirror, Orange is the New Black, and Riverdale are a few examples of popular Netflix originals that Netflix doesn't own and may at some point end up losing access to. In addition to this, popular non-Netflix original staples are also beginning to head off of the platform. Recently, NBC's The Office was announced to be leaving Netflix at the end of its licensing agreement in 2021 and will become available on NBC Universal's streaming platform, while the hit series Friends will be departing to Warner Media's streaming service in 2020. And these losses are just the tip of the iceberg. Taking a look at the company's balance sheet, you'll notice that the company has over $11 billion in long-term debt, and only $3.3 billion worth in cash and equivalents to pay it back. Not to mention their complete lack of any short or long-term investments. Considering Netflix's current financial situation and the high level of competition entering the field, I wouldn't be awfully surprised if Netflix ends up going under before getting to see what the 2030s are like. That having been said, Netflix was well aware of this issue long before it started becoming apparent to the public, and they actually devised a plan to combat the problem. In 2013, Netflix began collaborating with Media Rights Capital, Panic Pictures, and Trigger Street Productions to produce House of Cards, a series that would go on to become one of the main draws on the platform at the time. After the early success of House of Cards, Netflix continued to work alongside other smaller studios to produce more content that they would control the rights to, which gave birth to several fan favorites like Stranger Things, BoJack Horseman, Narcos, and Ozark, to name a few. Even still, this effort almost certainly won't be enough to combat the decades of media held by the titans of the film industry. But Netflix has also been swiftly expanding internationally. Since 2015, Netflix has become available in over 140 new countries, which should help to buy the company some time to stabilize after the initial release of Disney, Warner, and Universal streaming platforms in North America, as these companies will likely take their time branching out into the rest of the world. Hopefully, this will be long enough for Netflix to get their debts in order and start building towards an alternative business model, which will almost certainly be necessary for the company's survival. So, what does the future of Netflix look like? Well, in a world where crippling debt and mega corporations don't leave Netflix in ruin, and the company isn't bought out by one of its competitors, Netflix may be able to find a way to survive as a platform for smaller studios and indie creators, while continuing to produce its own content. Additionally, the company might be able to find some success in foreign markets, hosting country-specific content in areas where Disney and the like have less influence. One thing that we can be sure of, however, is that Netflix's prices will have to come down significantly in order to retain even a fraction of its North American subscriber base over the long term. And I think the company realizes this as well, which is likely why Netflix announced in April of this year that it would be increasing its subscription price in May. This increase, I'd have to assume, is temporary, and likely got many people to buy year-long subscriptions before the price hike occurred, meaning that Netflix would be able to get an additional 7 months or so worth of guaranteed revenue after Disney Plus gets released in November. In addition, Netflix will also get a couple extra bucks per month from users who continue to purchase their subscriptions on a month-to-month basis. From the outside, this squeeze play seems like a bit of a dirty tactic used to siphon cash from unsuspecting consumers. And it is. But the company has a mountain of debt to overcome and shareholders to protect. So, as scummy as it is, the temporary hike in subscription price will likely boost the shareholders' long-term perception of the company in the following quarterly reports, while also dampening some of the initial losses upon Disney's entrance into the equation. But I digress. The future of Netflix isn't exactly promising, but it may just be enough to carve out a niche for itself to survive in the new era of online streaming. Realistically speaking, however, the most likely scenario is that the company gets bought out by one of the emerging competitors 5 or so years down the road. But that's just my best guess. If you've got a better idea of what's going to happen with Netflix, I'd love to hear it, and you know where to post it, so I'll see you next time.